shooting down in the woods. He wouldn't leave here even if he could. His life is good, yeah!
Hickok 45, your internet shooting companion, coming to you from the beautiful hills of Middle Tennessee. Yes, the home of Dolly Parton, Alvin York, and many other wonderful people. I'm sure you have a lot of wonderful people where you live. We have quite a few right here in Tennessee, too. You'll have to excuse my voice, at least please excuse my voice. A little hoarse, although I'm a lot better than I have been. You might have noticed in recent videos, well, I guess we've just posted one since I came back from the voiceless, and that was the shotgun suppressed video. But that was actually the second video we did, I think. Yeah, or maybe the third. But anyway, yeah, for about almost 2 weeks now, I've been rather hoarse. It was actually a couple of weeks ago that it started to take. I didn't realize it. I just noticed a little itchy throat, and we went down to Johnsonville to a Civil War reenactment. Walked around in the cold all day, and I noticed that night a little worse. And anyway, I told John, I said, look, we're not going to be doing any videos Monday, I don't think, maybe even all week, who knows. And sure enough, we did not. So for about 10 days, did no videos. That was very strange because I really didn't shoot either. It's one thing not to do any videos, but wow, it's entirely something else to not be firing a firearm for that length of time. Of course, I could have done that. I really didn't feel all that great. I wasn't all that sick really. It was just my throat and kind of my head stopped up. It was really my only symptoms, but I was not able to speak well, and still am not 100%. But I was ready to get back and do something. So I asked John, "You think I'm a little too hoarse to do a video?" I mean, there's no need to jump back in and of course set my throat back, voice back, or we got videos in the bank like we always do, but I was getting a little antsy. I was ready to do something. We had some guns in, and hey, let's go ahead if you think my voice is okay. So my director thought my voice was good enough, and so we proceeded and did a few videos this week, but didn't overdo it. Did not overdo it. Just had a good time with some things that you will see and that you have seen basically already. Yeah. So hope you enjoy some of that. In fact, that reminds me, I have something here in my belt. Let's see if you can tell what it is. I imagine some of you could tell that sounded like a 1911. Yeah, it is. I just happen to have the old Ed Brown Special Forces out, and was maybe going to plink it a little bit, wasn't sure, but been doing some 1911 lately action, and was in kind of a 1911 45 ACP mood. We had a couple of Dan Wessons in this week. And, they were sent as T&E guns from CZ, who owns Dan Wesson. One of them was the V-Bob, a short, actually it's the same configuration as my Cobra Carry. Little stainless bobtail, commander size 1911. And really nice guns. For those of you who do not know and are not familiar with Dan Wesson 1911s, you might want to pick one up sometime to look at. I don't know if you'll ever be in the market, or if you are in the market for one that expensive. They're not quite as expensive as custom guns like the Ed Browns and Wilson Combats and Les Bears of the world. But they're not all that far away either. You're talking $1,700, $2,000. They're semi-custom guns, and to tell you the truth, I just about cannot tell. I didn't get the Ed Browns out and compare every little cut and all the machining and everything. because, you know, the Ed Browns, the Wilson Combats, and all those guns, the Les Bears, they're all essentially as perfect as you can get for a 1911, really. But man, these things are too. They're just unbelievable. If I didn't have the Ed Browns, I were again deciding, because it's been several years back when I got the Jones for a really nice 1911, because I just didn't have of course, to me, a really nice 1911. The ultimate 1911 is my old World War II 1911. Yeah, so, you know, y'all know that. Let's get that out of the way, of course. So what I mean is, in terms of a customized 1911, one that just fits your hand like a glove with a great trigger and great sights and all that kind of thing. In terms of an ultimate 1911, I would still say the ultimate is one that was dragged through Europe in the war, you know, or the Pacific. But as far as a custom one, it just hit me. I don't know, when was that? 7, 8 years ago, 10 years ago. Because I hadn't competed with one for a long time, and I let the one or two get away that I'd used for that. And I had a lot of, or several, just pretty much stock or GI 1911s. And I remember thinking, I wouldn't mind having one of those fit your hand like a glove 1911s again sometime, but I'm not interested in building one necessarily, converting one that I have and going through all that again. For one thing, if you start out with a quality 1911 basic frame, slide, and gun, and then you go about getting all that put on it by a competent gunsmith, and you get the best parts, if you're going to do it, you might as well do it right. Well, you're going to end up with a couple $1,000s in it, before it's over, or maybe more, maybe a little less. It just depends, but you're going to have a lot of money in it either way. And that's what led me into the first Ed Brown, the Cobra Carry, because I came upon it used, and so essentially I don't have any more money in it than I would have if I had, gotten a basic model and fixed it up. Okay, so that's how I got it. But anyway, I was in that thought process, in that zone, and if I had known at that time what Dan Wesson was building, in other words, if I had not been so ignorant, if I had been more knowledgeable about what has been going on in the 1911 world, and of course, by the same token, Dan Wesson might not have been there at that time as where they are now, but excuse me, but I would definitely been looking at Dan Wesson. I like a good name as well as anybody. It holds its value well. An Ed Brown, you get a Colt. Anything Colt holds its value, whether it's better than another firearm or not. It could even be worse, but it will often hold its value better than a lesser name. You get all that going on there too if you're going to invest in something that involves a little bit more money. But I'm not a brand sort of person. It's got to be this brand name because it's just, for whatever superficial reasons, and of course, Dan Wesson is has always been a well-respected name as far as that goes. But I just never associated them with high-quality 1911s. I was just clueless. And I used to go to and I still do, the 1911forum.com. But I was mostly going there as I was researching some other 1911, or I was going there to look for information about my Ed Brown or my Colts or that sort of thing, or trying to decide about whether I wanted to get a Wilson Combat or an Ed Brown if I got one of those sorts of guns. And it's a great site, by the way, of course, lots of information there. But so anyway, if I had known, and if these two guns, these are our Valors, VALOR, that's the model of these two firearms that we had recently. Well, I still have them. They're boxed up to ship back, but those babies were nice. Probably should have done 2 or 3 videos with them, but we did one, and shot the one before the video a fair amount, and then did the video and just enjoyed it. It was cold, and my voice was hoarse as it is now. But those guns, again, I got off track. But if you are looking for a really nice 1911 and you are willing to spend and have the money to spend, you might want to take a look at Dan Wesson, because it wasn't until recently that I learned that. I don't know, over the last 6 months or year or something. I remember picking them up a couple of times. It was mainly because there was a particular model that looked interesting to me, and the Dan Wesson. And I saw a price on it. I thought, wow, what is it, $1,500? A Dan Wesson? Whatever, and picked it up, and wow. And I remember a dealer somewhere at a gun show or a gun shop, was showing me one and just slobbering over it, and I was, again, it was like a new experience for me. I was like, what? Okay, I didn't realize Dan Wesson was doing this. Where have I been? So anyway, I are informed now, and I need another 1911, and no, don't have money to throw into another 1911. But as I boxed those things up this morning, I looked at them again, and I thought, really, I would like to keep these guns. These are great guns, but how could I justify that? I've got Colts and Ed Brown. So anyway, I boxed them up, and they'll be going back. But boy, nice 1911s, no doubt about it. Well, I didn't get very specific there. Of course, I do in the video, but what I like about them is they take the same, at least on these models, the same approach that Ed Brown does. There's no rails on them. Now you can get guns from them with rails, but no rails and not a lot of stuff on the slides. Just no forward serrations, no full-length guide rods, all that stuff you hear me bad-mouthing. It's not on these guns, and they're not GI models, of course, but you got the long trigger, the flat mainspring housing, checkering you die for. It's just, you pick that thing up, the trigger, the ultimate triggers, just as good as any custom gun I've ever shot. All that. Okay, so just to be more specific than just be here on the radio slobbering over them, like I'm likely to do, right? And speaking of being on the radio, John's talked me into upgrading here my equipment a little bit. John's really into this radio business, and well, we call it radio, call it what you want, I guess. Radio, podcasting, reloading room rambling. We arose by any other name is still as sweet. My old friend Bill Shakespeare said something like that a long time ago. And I remember writing it down when I heard him say it. We were having a beer together there in Stratford-on-Avon at a little pub. But he was talking me into using Audacity because he's picked up some pretty nice microphones and different things, and setting up his little studio in his house where he's doing his stuff now. His radio shows, which I'm going to be on here, but anyway, he gave me a microphone, a pretty nice microphone, and I just plugged it into my laptop, and he thought this would be better quality than my little recorder. And of course, I pointed out it doesn't really matter. It doesn't need to be high grade quality. Nobody listens to me anyway. But anyway, I thought I'll try it, and I had a little trouble getting it to work right the last time I did a radio show, and I just had to go back to my recorder. It wouldn't play back, and Audacity was working and everything, but it wouldn't play back. I realized I had to unplug the microphone for it to play back. Not sure what that's about, but anyway, I got it figured out today. So I'm just using it. So I'm looking at a big microphone here, and well, I'm not necessarily looking at it, just trying to make sure I'm not too far away from it, especially with my lame, feeble voice. And I'm actually recording into my laptop, so we'll see how it goes. If it sounds any better, if it makes me sound more intelligent, we'll stick with it. Okay, I figure maybe it'll help. I don't know, maybe it'll help my brain function. We'll see. But hopefully I don't delete everything I've said, because I'm sure I'll cover so many brilliant topics and say so many profound things, right? Speaking of videos, of course, recent videos. I've done several since the last time I yacked at you. It's been, I guess, it was October. I think towards the end of October I yacked at you last. But we've had some fun with some new videos, even though I took a break there. Didn't really want to take the break. It was frustrating because the week I was out of commission, last week especially, was nice weather. And of course, this week when we're doing some videos, we're freezing out there. But whether I'm freezing or not, or I'm sweating and my t-shirt is soaked, pretty much depends on how we control the weather here at the compound. We have a lot of control over that. So we can turn it on and off like a switch, as you've noticed, because you may see a video posted tomorrow where I'm perspiring like crazy. And you look at the weather forecast and you see that, whoa, you go to weather.com, and what's it doing in Nashville? Surely it's cold here in Minnesota. And there's Hickok down there sweating up a storm in a t-shirt. And the leaves are all out. What's going on with that? So you go to weather.com, you put in Nashville, Tennessee, and you see it's cold in Nashville too. But that doesn't tell you what's going on at the compound. You know, we have that kind of control over things. Actually, we do, because it depends on when we post a video, right? So, yeah, we're actually, as I've said before, we take the same liberty that TV shows take and everybody else. You know, we post when we want to, and when it's recorded is irrelevant. Sometimes it's recorded and posted the next day, as the recent suppressed shotgun, was. But then other times it might be recorded a month earlier, so or in the future. Yeah, I've used that joke before, haven't I? But so anyway, you don't know what you'll see, but it could be sunny, it could be green, it could be barren and bleak and cold, could be snowy, could be fall, could be beautiful leaves on the trees. So you get a little variety, don't you, when you when you come to the channel, and that's all fine, right? So we've got some non-bleak videos that you'll see, and we're trying, to keep that bank going, because really in January there are not comfortable comfortable days, or February around Middle Tennessee, but you never know. Sometimes there are, and of course, comfort is a relative term. I don't really mind doing videos in the cold. It's uncomfortable, of course, setting up and all of that, when it's 30 degrees. That's the part I don't enjoy as much. But John and I go out and we'll work and get things set up and everything, and come back in, get warm, and maybe go and have lunch or something, and come in the barn and get warm by the heater and have everything ready to go. In fact, we did that this week a couple of times, because it was in the it was around upper 30s or 40 degrees. We did a couple, and that's not all that cold, but it seems cold now because it's been nice. We've had really nice weather, and so boy, when it first gets down to that level, it chills your bones. So we get it all ready, and then get warmed up, and then go out there, and then once we start the video, don't even think about the cold really. But if it gets down into the 20s, it really is uncomfortable doing a video. Pretty much. If it's not too awfully long, I can do it. I mean, it's not like it's undoable. Last year, I know we did some videos. Wow, it was in the 20s. I think it was 27 comes to mind on one or two. And I know we did that. I think it was we did that custom Sphinx. It wasn't really custom, but that Sphinx pistol, the competition model. There was some snow on the ground, and it was really cold. I remember that one, and at least one or two others. And, I don't enjoy it as much in that kind of weather, but then again, I can do it. I put the long johns on in the winter and several layers, and then don't think about it too much. The biggest problem is your face. I don't want to go out there in a ski mask to do a video and have big, heavy gloves on. Me, I don't even like to cover up my face, even though you would like for me to cover up my face probably, even in the summer. I don't like to do that, no matter how cold it is, no matter what I'm doing, really. I don't know. Ski masks are just not very comfy. I just don't wear a ski mask unless I'm robbing a bank or a 7-Eleven, to tell you the truth. If it's really, really cold, I just don't wear it, again, unless I'm robbing someplace. And same with gloves. You just rarely will see me in gloves. I just don't like them. If I have to manipulate anything, it's not that I'm that big a klutz. I just don't like the awkwardness of gloves. Now, sometimes you'll see me in them, but maybe a woods walk or something. We're out there with a rifle and shotgun or something, and you got big shells and big guns, and there's not. I'm not loading magazines, 9mm, and all that kind of stuff. So, but anyway, enough about weather. But I can handle it. I just prefer to be upper 30s. 40. That's pretty good. I can go ahead with whatever we're doing and not think too much about it. Oops, somebody's calling. Let me see who that is. Okay, wrong number. You'd think I'd be smart enough to turn my phone down, wouldn't you, before I do this? Actually, I'm pretty good about that. I just occasionally forget. In videos, that's one of the last things we both do, make sure our phones are turned down. And I've only slipped on that maybe once or twice. And then my phone did not ring, thankfully. But but anyway, yeah, can't expect too much brilliance from me. You know that by now. Speaking of videos, what else have we been doing? Oh yeah, I think we posted the Fully Auto versus Glock or whatever that one was called since I've yacked at you. And there was a lot of discussion there. And we'll have to do that again, because that was just some fooling around. I think people kind of enjoyed it, but maybe we should have done that as more of a project instead of just as kind of a lark. But that's YouTube, that's us. We get a wild hair just to do something. Yeah, let's do that while we got this sub gun. And so we did it, just to show whatever we showed, that there's not all that much difference, at least as much as most people think there might be. So it was a worthy endeavor, I think. Those of you who have had a lot of experience with subguns and a lot of shooting, you know what I'm probably about to say. We could have done a more, dare I say, scientific approach to that, and maybe done 5 or 6 different runs. And yeah, people were saying, I think, you should have used a semi-automatic and then a fully automatic subgun, all that. Well, that'd be another experiment too, of course. But I was more interested in handgun, just something that you'd have on you, versus what most people would consider, wow, an ultimate self-defense weapon, a submachine gun. I really do think a lot of people out there, and probably a lot of people that watch that video, because there are a lot of young people and a lot of inexperienced shooters. People, all they know is what they see on TV, Hollywood, that really probably were and are of the thinking that, well, hopefully not as much, maybe after seeing that video, right? Because it was unbelievably enlightening, correct? No, a lot of people, I think, probably would just laugh at you if you said that, well, I was going to take a subgun into that gunfight, but I really thought my handgun I could do just as well, or a handgun would be, or you can imagine some people who don't shoot sitting around watching a movie or something and arguing that if someone were trying to argue that a handgun would be as effective as a submachine gun, in that gunfight that they just saw or whatever it might be, well, they get laughed out of the room. It'd be a big joke to even say that. But anybody who has shot a lot knows that it's not that big a joke. Now, a subgun's a pretty awesome piece of artillery. There's no doubt about that. If you know what you're doing and you've got a clear room or whatever it is, and it's reliable, that's the other factor, obviously that's going to be pretty darn effective. But I still like to show that, what I was showing. If you've got separate individual targets, they're not all standing together hugging each other. You've got to actually kind of get a sight picture and move over and around, that it's hard to beat deliberate aimed fire, even for speed, and obviously I didn't talk about it in the video, but I do have some history. Well, maybe I mentioned it, but I do have some history with that. Maybe I've talked about it in a radio show. I don't recall now, but when I had my Uzi, there were 2 or 3 different times I would challenge people or accept challenges, and we would just set up some pepper poppers, some knockdown steel targets, and And I remember one specifically was at a match. After the match was over, kind of a relaxed match, back in the woods up in Clarksville, and a fellow who, I think he was from Germany. He was a very accomplished shooter and had been in the military and had shot everything and all that kind of thing. So he and I decided, we had the range set up, the match. It didn't take much movement at all. We had all these poppers, a lot of steel in that match. We had literally 10 pepper poppers that were in this one little area, and we just separated them, whatever we did. So each of us had 5 of them, and there was just a little bit of distance between them. And so I gave him the Uzi, my Uzi, and he was looking forward to shooting the Uzi. He had shot one quite a lot, I think, but not recently. And I had a 1911 45 that I'd been competing with, and I bet him $10 that, I mean, it was just to make it interesting. I wasn't being arrogant or anything. He could have beaten me, but it was just messing around. And so someone gave us a start signal, and we were both in the ready position and all that. And I got my 5 poppers knocked down before he did with the Uzi. And he's an accomplished shooter. And I've done that 2 or 3 times with people, just as a demonstration mostly, and for the people standing around that don't really know. He was fully aware that it was going to be a real contest and that he might not win it. And if we'd have done it a bunch of times, he might have won too. But the point is, there's not much difference. And, as far as actually getting the rounds on target, so many people believe you can just spray with one of those things and you hit everything within, whatever, a 180-degree field of fire, right? And it's just like some people think a short shotgun, blast will cover the entire barn from 10 yards. So anyway, that's what that was about, just to show people there's really not much difference. And if I had actually done that again, too, as I looked at the video, I was really deliberate with that handgun. I wanted to make sure I got the hits, and I was going slow, got right down to it. I think I actually could probably beat myself with, I know I've equaled the time at least and maybe beat it and got the same hits as I did with the sub gun, okay? So I proved my point. There's not a lot of difference there. That's all we were doing. But maybe we'll do that again. We'll get another sub gun in. That's kind of fun. I always like dispelling myths about shooting. Oop, I click pause. You see so many myths, represented, I guess, out there in conversations and forums and the comments on videos. People just, they won't let go of, and that's kind of the progression in learning about the firearms world. I think you almost start with the myths, right? You take someone who hadn't been around shooters much, but just getting into it, bought a couple of guns, been hanging around gun shops some and gun shows. That's the guy that's likely to say something about a 45 ACP will take down a man wherever you hit him. Those myths about the magical 45 slug. When in reality, and I've finally come to accept that myself, science is science. It is what it is. They're all handguns, and they're all pretty feeble when it comes to stopping power till you go up to a rifle or shotgun. And you can look at all the ballistics and the wound channel experimentation or experiments that the FBI has done and everybody else has done, and there is just very, very little difference in what happens, as gross as it is, in a human body to talk about, between or amongst a 40, a 9, or a 45. Not much different stuff happens at all, okay? So I've come to accept that science pretty well. I feel just as well armed with a Glock 19 as I do my Glock 21 45 or my Glock 23. I really do. I really do. I used to go back and forth on all that. I don't anymore, not with modern ammo. It doesn't make a bit of difference to me. If you sent me into harm's way tomorrow, I could do it eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I'll take any one of them. So anyway, That will always be debated, though, won't it? Because it just makes sense. It just makes common sense that bigger bullet is going to make a lot of difference, and it does when you get into gigantic numbers in terms of velocity. With rifles, and obviously a 50 BMG, versus a 223. I mean, it makes a big difference. It's just that handgun bullets are not moving that fast. And here, how'd I get off on all of this? Gee, you never know where I'm going to wander into. But that's the beauty of it. I can say what I want. It's my show. And I can alienate all the listeners, and but I can still say what I want, right? And again, that's the beauty of being in control of everything ourselves. And fortunately, there are enough people who enjoy it that we keep doing it. But it is wonderful to have the technology and the internet universe, and to be able to be your own publisher, as many of you are. Isn't it? It's just, it's really nice because we're not really controlled by anybody, and we can pretty much do what we want. We're always controlled. We all have a boss, right? You guys are my boss, so to speak. Everybody has a boss, somebody you answer to. And while we do our own thing, we do answer to you guys. If we were doing stuff that nobody was interested in, we would probably lose interest and not continue with it. We'd do much less of it. But since you are interested, for the most part, a lot of people seem to enjoy it, then we keep it up, and we try to even step it up, and we just keep doing it. So, but it is nice to be your own boss, and to do what you want to do, and not have anybody really messing with your creative stuff, whatever you want to do. And it's a beauty of YouTube, really. And as we've talked about, several times, that we are not going to be controlled. It's one reason we've told the reality show folks to go away, and it's the reason we control the sponsorship the way we do. We do have some sponsorship, as you know now, but you also, I hope, see that it does not affect the videos, other than mentioning some things. And we go on doing what we're doing, the way we're going to do it. It doesn't matter where guns come from. It just doesn't matter. I'm not independently wealthy at all, but I am independent pretty much. I'm to the point where I don't have to worry about where my next meal's coming from, whether I do YouTube videos or not, or whether we have sponsorship or not, whether we get guns or not. I mean, none of that really matters. And so that's one reason. But, of course, the main reason that I'm going to be honest about anything you see here at the compound is because I'm just going to be honest about it. So I don't care who I upset. I'm just going to point out what I like and what I don't like, and let the chips fall. And again, I hope you appreciate the people who do help us, because they know how we do things. And we're not the infomercial channel. And we're not the commercial channel, So I hope you do appreciate the people who do help us, whether it's Bud's Gun Shop or Federal, or some of the gun shops that give us or lend us guns, just whoever it might be, NC Silencer. They really help the program, and they do it on our terms, and that's impressive to me. I'm not just saying that to build them up, necessarily, but I'm impressed with the people who have stepped forward to help us, because they know they're not just going to send us something and get an infomercial out of it, and that kind of thing. Or we're going to be praising things that don't deserve to be praised. So anyway, I got off on another rant. Then you got to watch me. I know what I need. I need a rant control button, don't I? Again, speaking of shooting, I know one thing I was going to roll into there was the SIG 1911 22 we did. I don't think I've yacked at you here in the reloading room since, and I am in the reloading room, even though I have my computer and a microphone. I just feel more at home out here. How's that for sick? John has this really nice room at his house. You see the pictures. He's got the wall hangings, and his couch, and some of his guns in there, and he's got my old stereo. Get him to tell you about that sometime. I passed that on down to him. My old Marantz 2235, I think, was the model number on that thing. and my turntable, my dual turntable, all which is 1975 vintage. I have purchased one nice stereo system in my life. I didn't have one in college like a lot of guys did, and I just didn't. Some guys I lived the same kind of it was a suite mate when I was during my basketball years, and it was 2 rooms connected. They call it a suite with a bathroom between, all that kind of thing. And well, the guy in the other room over there, one of the guys on the team, he had this really nice system, and he had, for the times, for the late 60s, early 70s, he had all the Led Zeppelin and James Gang. He had all this good stuff. And I had a lot of that at home, but I didn't have it at the dorm because I didn't have a system there. And so we freaked out to all of his stuff. But I didn't really have a nice system till I got out of college, and it was actually about a year or two after I'd been working, teaching, I saved up and I bought a nice system. That was really nice at the time. At Marantz, Marantz probably isn't even around anymore, and some of you wonder, what? Who's that? And that dual turntable. I couldn't afford a CD player at the time. Oh no, wait a minute. It was 75. Nobody could afford a CD player. They did not exist, right? That was a joke. And then I got JBL 100s. Those of you who know sound systems, you know that JBL still, I think, does a really good job. But in 1975, you almost couldn't do better than a JBL 100 speaker. They used them in recording studios, as monitors there and everything. And I put some money in that thing. I bought 2 JBL speakers, and I remember those were $330 a piece. Okay, so that system cost a little bit back then, 1975. Now it still runs. Anyway, I wasn't using it as much. It's kind of back in the corner and dusty. And John got into collecting albums and real albums and all that. And so I just passed that on to him. It's good to see him using it. I go over to his house and he's got albums playing. I was in there yesterday and with Bob Seger playing and all that. It's really neat. So I'm glad to see him using it. But he's got a nice room set up. See, you thought I wasn't going to find my way back from the bushes, did you? And I'm here in this cluttered reloading room. So I just feel more at home, though, out here. So I brought my computer out here. It's got enough charge left, I think, so I can yak. But at least take some delight, because my battery will run down on my computer here eventually, and I will have to stop talking. So you won't have to listen for more than 3 hours. How's that? But I was going to talk about that SIG 1911-22, because I know, I think I did mention in that video, it is just a topic I thought I might elaborate on, because I know you're dying to hear more about it, right? You're just hanging on every word, every profound word. I mentioned in there that I'm not crazy about 1911s and 22 caliber as a training vehicle, so to speak, all right? So there I go. SIG sends me a gun and I bash it. I didn't really bash it, but that really is my position on that, and I've had that position or feeling about that for a long time. I guess to a fault, because I've had offers. People want to send me an AR-15 22 conversion, or people wonder why I don't have that, and different things. 22 conversion for my Glock 19, and that just doesn't appeal to me, and I respect it. If that's your thing, you love it. You've got a Glock and you've got an AR and you've got conversion kits for both, and there's nothing you enjoy more than putting that 22 conversion kit on there, going out to the range and taking the little ones with you and your wife or something, girlfriend, and they enjoy it. Not to sound sexist there. It could be the opposite, right? You big burly women might take your frail little husband out there, and he can handle the 22. Let's keep it fair, right? Now, you know what I mean. And so, yeah, I understand that. I really do. But for my purposes, it would just be to think I was training or think I was getting more inexpensive shooting done with my 1911 or my Glock or my AR because I'm able to shoot 22 long rifle. And of course, with current prices on 22 long rifle, this whole discussion is moot, isn't it? To some extent, you might be able to find 5.56 cheaper than you can 22 long rifle, or at least easier to find. But let's assume it's normal times. Okay, we'll go back in time. We're into the future, hopefully. And 22 ammo again is relatively cheap. I still don't get it. I'd rather shoot my 1911s less, my AR, my Glock less. I'd rather, that's just me. I'd rather it be a real Glock, a real AR, real 1911, and whatever caliber it is in, and I'll buy my own 22 pistols. Thank you. I'll enjoy my little Ruger SR22 or my Model 41 Smith & Wesson, my 1022s, my Model 60. I'll just thoroughly enjoy those guns that were designed to be a 22 rifle, 22 pistol. That's just me. Maybe it's partly because it gives me an excuse to own all those guns, right? And that may be the way you should be thinking, Oh, yeah. But anyway, I really do. And as I mentioned in the video, I think, I don't want to, especially my carry gun. I'm packing a Glock right now. I don't want to go out and shoot that thing with, like, no recoil and be plinking around and then rely on it for self-defense and be surprised that it kicks and my sight reacquisition is way different. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't like that. As I think I might have mentioned before, I have shot a lot of 40 Smith & Wesson and a lot of 9mm from the same size pistols. Some of you have too, I'm sure, like a Glock 27 and a 26, Glock 23 and Glock 19. The only difference is caliber. And I discovered long ago, going back and forth, that for one thing, the Glock 40 is not snappy to me. It's just not. And the recoil is just fine. It's fun to shoot, whether it's a 27, the little one, or it's a 23. But that said, if I have been shooting a Glock 26 a lot, then that Glock 27 turns into a 10mm. It really feels snappy to me. Okay, I discovered that when I got into the GSSF matches, the Glock's Shooting Sport Foundation matches back in the late 90s and early 2000. When I was doing that a fair amount, I had been carrying the Glock 27 mostly, and then I found myself carrying the Glock 26 more because I was shooting it in those matches and practicing with it a lot, and I would just carry it. But then I'd get the 27 out occasionally, and I thought, wow, I didn't remember how much that thing kicked. How come I didn't notice that before? I'd think, what ammo am I using here? Well, same ammo I'd always been using. So that's part of my foundation for that thinking. And that's not even going from 22 long rifle to 9mm or 40. That's going from 9 to 40. So anyway, just my take on it. Something to think about. Something to either ignore and think is stupid, or maybe something you want to consider. And that's the way it always is. Anything I say should really be taken with a grain of salt, because I don't know everything. And, a lot of people out there are more knowledgeable in the area of firearms than I am. It's funny, a lot of people, they write me all the time, of course, every day, and lots of times every day, and think I'm a guru or something in terms of firearms. And I do have a lot of experience with a lot of different guns and calibers and all that sort of thing. But I still don't look at myself like that. I walk around a gun show or there's certain gun shop. I know certain people who are really accomplished gunsmiths, or people who have studied World War II rifle. They know more about World War II weapons than I mean, it's like comparing a BB to a basketball, me to them. So I still feel fairly unknowledgeable in a lot of those areas, and it's a big universe, the world of firearms, and of course nobody can know everything, but there are just a lot of people who know a whole lot more than I do. But I try to share whatever I do know and whatever experience I do have, and and try to indoctrinate you along the way as best I can. We need more shooters. The more shooters, the better. And the more you shoot, the better. The more you shoot, the better you'll shoot. How's that? Speaking of that, experience and all that, it's been, I don't know, time is getting away, but it's been three weeks ago. I guess it was around the time of Knob Creek, 4 weeks ago. Yeah, 4 weeks ago or more. I lost a cousin of mine, and we grew up together. He was actually about a year younger than I am, and we lived close by, and we just hung out together all through childhood, and kind of didn't see each other as much, after I went away, came to Tennessee and all that. Other than when I get back home, I'd see him some, but anyway, we grew up together, and he and I actually probably started the Hickok 45 thing when you get right down to it, because we would hang out in the woods. My dad had a farm, and mom and dad had a farm. We lived on that, part of those years, and part of the time we didn't, but we still had a farm. But anyway, we'd be out there in the woods shooting and building log cabins and just doing stuff like that. And I remember out with a shotgun and, trying to mow down a dead tree with a shotgun, him and me one day, stuff like that. And I think about him, have thought about him, often as we're doing these videos. And because that's kind of where I got my start, us just messing around on the farm in an environment where we could actually do that. You imagine that, you being 11, 12, 13, and being able to go out in the woods with a firearm, a shotgun, 22, that kind of thing, and experiment ballistically and all that. You see something you want to shoot to see what the bullet will do to it, you can do it. Yeah, it's a miracle we survived it, to tell you the truth. But what he didn't think of, I did, so we were a dangerous pair, I guess. But we had a lot of fun, and I was always a little sorry that he couldn't kind of participate in the Hickok 45 thing. He developed a form of Parkinson's. Gosh, it's been 4 or 5 years ago now. And everything, and just was not getting along all that well. But I was pleased to find out that he had been watching the videos in the last 6 months or a year. Yeah, so that was interesting. I'm sure he saw. I just know what he was thinking, that I hadn't changed a bit. But anyway, such is life. That's why you've got to grab all the gusto you can get and take advantage of the time while you're here, right? To move into a more serious note. That's one of the nice things about the shooting sports, or really anything you do, whether it's golf or you name it. We guys, we tend to have our hobbies, and I think most of us understand that. Time is short, and you got to be responsible, but you want to have all the fun you can have and do all the good you can do, and then whatever is your priority. But you want to live life and dig into it as much as possible, because it's amazing. Many of you know that, how quickly the years go by, and anybody that's 16 or 20 doesn't really get that. Generally, I mean, you think you do, but you really don't until you're 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 or whatever, and then you just realize how quickly those years have gone by. I remember being young, thinking that somebody was 40 or 50. They were just so old, and they had been around so long, like since the beginning of time. Because when you're 20 or you're 15, those years, you feel like you've been around forever. And you think you'll never get to the age of 20. That's so far down the road. Somebody who is 40 or 50 or 60, oh man, that's Moses. They must go back into biblical times or something. I remember thinking that way. And in fact, I remember Steve, my buddy, my cousin, and we had this phrase we would just joke about, when we were young, running around, and We say, oh yeah, some 50-year-old man. There's some he's some old 50-year-old man, or some old codger, 50-year-old man. That was kind of the phrase, 50-year-old man. And I mean, 50 doesn't seem so old to me at all, and to a lot of people. But it's all relative. Those years go by quick, and so I'm happy that I'm healthy, I think, and I'm able to do stupid things even at my age, and so it's great. And that's, again, one of the beauties of the shooting sports is that you don't have to be able to run 20 miles to enjoy the shooting sports. It's a lifelong sport, lifelong activity. And even if you're disabled, you can still enjoy the shooting sports, just on some level, almost with any disability, because, it's the athletic side of shooting is mostly in the trigger control, being able to hold the gun up. Of course, it helps to be strong and be healthy, but almost anybody can hold up a rifle if it's not too heavy and take a few shots with it. So it comes down to the trigger control and, of course, the eyesight, but it's just something that almost anybody can enjoy for their entire lives. I remember my father would come down to visit, and he was in his 70s, and he would shoot on the range. It's neat to think about. He's been gone 20 years now. He knocked over a bunch of those rams and turkeys over those very same targets with my Model 29. He could shoot. Of course, he was, not because he was in the military. The military generally doesn't make you a great shooter unless you're in some of those special units and all that. They help. It helps. But it's how you grow up, whether you grow up shooting or not, for the most part. And he grew up shooting, not like me, but he hunted and he shot, and so he was pretty steady. And so that's the neat thing about it. Even at his advanced age, he enjoyed taking a few shots out here on the range when they'd come down, or would go out to their farm when I'd go up back up to Kentucky, and I'd shoot with him. He did, and he was funny. I turned him into an avid shooter more so than he'd ever been, and I found out that when he went out to the farm to work on the garden or whatever, which was a drive from where they lived the last few years, and he would almost always take his gun, do some shooting when he was out there. He, just like me, turned into an avid shooter in his 60s and 70s. It's pretty funny, but it's a great lifelong sport, and I didn't know I was going to get off on all that, but that's just the way I am. Talking's sort of a lifelong sport, isn't it? You can't do it forever. We've done several suppressor videos, a couple lately I've posted, and it's funny, the same questions always arise and the same comments. It's almost like deja vu or Groundhog Day whenever we post a suppressor video. You see those comments, are those legal? I didn't know those were legal. And, or, well, that didn't even make it quiet. Why have that? Kinds of things, But I think most people, obviously, with there's over 1,000, 1,200 new people every day, so that you're going to get that. Try to be patient. I try to be patient too. I can't answer everybody the same questions over and over. You all can, maybe, but yes, suppressors are very legal in most states, and they're not necessarily meant to totally quieten a pistol or a rifle or shotgun, right? They generally do not do that. There are some that just about do that, but for the most part, they just suppress the sound, that they make it less, and that's the beauty of it. And again, people who are in the military or in tactical situations will tell you that. When you think about it, if you're thinking a suppressor should make something quiet, then you would wonder why anybody would have a suppressor on a 308 or a 5.56, AR, in battle or something. Because again, if you're shooting a 5.56, if it's totally quiet, that means you're shooting subsonic, which means you're shooting a .22 long rifle. So, and there might be application for that, but mostly you are, I think, in those environments, you're just trying to reduce that sound, that signature, so that it's harder for people to hear you, the enemy to hear you or know where you are. Okay, you're just reducing it as much as you can and still have something that's ballistically powerful enough to do whatever it is you're doing, you know. So anyway, suppressors serve a lot of purposes, and for my purposes, they're mainly just fun, and to show you all, just have some fun with, and just something different, you know. And we appreciate NC Silencer providing those, because it's pretty neat to have that, you know, have those occasionally. I probably should try, at least in these rambling radio shows, to give you some useful information. I'm not even sure why all I do these. I don't have some serious mission, I guess. I think originally we started doing these just to, since I don't ramble that much in the video, some people think I do, of course, but I'm talking about the firearm or whatever we're doing there, but to give you a chance to know me a little better, how crazy I actually am, and that sort of thing, and to talk about behind the scenes and different things that we're doing, why we do it. So it's for all those reasons. But I probably should try to provide a little more information. One thing that always comes to mind, and questions I get so much about, are selecting a handgun. That's number one, I guess. What gun should I get? This one, that one, or that one, and these, that, and often I'm not even familiar with one or two of them, and sometimes I am, but again, there's so many things I don't know about you. I can't really advise you. So I don't mean to be short on my answers, but of course I have to be. But as often I'll answer, well, for me, I'd choose the Glock 19, or for me, I'd choose the SIG, or whatever. When I get those questions, but it's not necessarily a well thought out answer or advice based on lots of information. It can't be. So I can just kind of give you what I like, maybe. But I was thinking about that. If you're one of those folks, you're just getting into firearms and you're looking for something to carry or something to take to the range or whatever. Most of the modern guns work. What advice could I give you? For one thing, the guns that you I would get around to a lot of gun shops and gun shows as much as possible. Try to shoot them, but first thing is just hold them. Gun shows are a great place for that. Just put it in your grip, put it in your paws, see how it feels. Is that the size gun you think you're looking for? Is that the caliber you think is right? And just narrow it down from 5 million to at least 50, and start getting an idea. Start getting an idea, and with the awareness that a really small gun is going to kick more. Always be aware of that. Depending on the caliber, even a 38, 9mm, if it's really small, it is going to recoil more. Are you recoil sensitive? Have you shot very much? So you got all those issues. Now, recoil will not hurt you, but you don't want excessive recoil, especially if you're not an experienced shooter and you're not going to shoot a lot. So it's a quagmire. It's really tough, because the very same gun that if I saw you looking at it and you really are a new shooter, that I might advise you, that's a neat little gun, but you're probably not going to like the recoil on that thing. You'd probably shoot this gun a little bigger, better. And that would probably be true, but you give you 2 years under your belt of shooting, pretty much, then some of that's out the window. That little gun might be more appropriate. You might have determined by that time, recoil isn't that big a deal with a 9 or a 40. I've shot a lot of different guns now. I've had 2 years of shooting, and that little gun that was kind of small, kind of light, it's okay. I can handle that because I want to carry it, and I can control it. So it just depends on your experience, but the big thing is that, narrow it down to something that feels good to you. It seems to fit well. It's the right size, because even a really small light gun might feel good to you, but it's going to, kick the crap out of you. Okay. So you can't go wrong, probably. It depends on your budget, but if you've got some discretionary funds, maybe I'd advise you buy kind of a mid-sized gun, or even a big one, but a gun that's plenty large, say like a Glock 19 or something, a CZ75, some full-size service gun type thing, or at least a mid-size that's pretty good size. I still look at a Glock 19 or 23 as a pretty big gun myself, but something maybe at least that size, whoever the maker is, XD M or whatever it might be, and just shoot the thing and enjoy it, because it will serve a lot of roles. Be a good home defense gun. It could be a carry gun. It's a great gun at the range. So unless you're broke, that gun, that money would not be wasted as long as you make a good choice, get a quality firearm. That gun is a gun you may have forever. Okay, I will always have a Glock 19, for example. I carry them sometimes, even though I prefer an even smaller gun most of the time. So you got a great gun there just to go shoot with and do everything you want to do with it, and just shoot it and learn to shoot and shoot well, shoot a lot. And then you might realize, well, I could handle something smaller, in the subcompact size, whether it's a Glock again or an XD or whatever it might be, Springfield, an M&P, and maybe go from there. I don't know. Or if you have shot quite a lot, but you just don't have a pistol yet, or you don't have a carry gun, and maybe you can shoot some others, rent some. The biggest thing is money. If you've got discretionary funds there that you can make a few mistakes, you could buy 3 or 4 guns and not miss the money. That makes it a lot easier. It does, but you still need to do your research and shoot them as much as you can, and look around the forums and see what people are saying about them. And then, of course, ignore the 3%. Because you're going to get haters with absolutely every gun that's out there, and you're going to get people out there who, whatever the gun is, that they're going to hate it because they've had 4 or 5 of them and they malfunction. And you're going to get that whether it's a Springfield or an M&P or an H&K or a Glock, a Ruger. It doesn't matter. And what it really comes down to is they either got a lemon, which is probably unlikely. But especially if they've had several and they're telling the truth and they've had problems with them, they probably have a limp wristing problem. If they're having a lot of malfunctions with guns, pistols, that the vast majority of people do not have trouble with, they probably have the problems in them. It's probably a limp wristing problem. I'm pretty confident in saying that. My experience is mostly with Glocks, or I've experienced with lots of guns, but I've been shooting Glocks since the 80s, mid-80s, and, I don't know where people find these Glocks that don't work, that have problems with them. They malfunction all the time. I have been denied those experiences, and I've probably owned, wow, how many you reckon, 40, 50 different Glocks, shot them all, some of them extensively. So for some reason, in my hands, I just don't get the privilege of knowing what a Glock malfunctioning is like. So I say that because my experience is mostly with Glocks, but I've had a lot of experience with the others too, and they don't malfunction generally. So you get someone bad mouthing a gun, whether it's on the internet or in the gun shop, it's probably them. Now there are some guns might not be as reliable, but those mainline firearms, they just work. Get good quality firearm if you can afford it. Get a used gun if you can. If you cannot afford a new one, look at the used guns. Again, I probably of all the guns I have bought, half of them have been used guns, maybe more. Several of my Glocks I bought used. I always look for used first because it's hard to wear out one of these modern pistols. They just work. Who's going to shoot a 9mm? Whether it's an M&P or a Ruger or a Glock or anything, an XD, till it wears out. Who does that? How do you do that? I know Chuck Taylor, a gun writer from, I guess he's still writing. I don't know. I haven't seen anything by him lately, but he took a Glock 17. Well, man, that's been 20 years ago, I guess. He started doing that, maybe 25 years ago. And he had a training school. I guess he still does. And he just tried to see how many rounds he could put through it. And there'd be an article appear in the gun rags every now and then, every so many years. He would update everybody on it. And I don't remember what the last count. It seemed like 600,000 or something. It's probably over 1 million now. And he details the problems he had with it. I think the sight broke off finally or something like that. But yeah, I mean, it just kept on working. It's really hard. And I say Glock, but that's Glock. Most of the modern pistols would probably do the same thing. So they just tend to work. So just get the right size and caliber and shoot the thing. Buy ammo. And after you have shot a lot, it'll all become much more clear to you. And if you're trying to carry a gun, got a permit, ask a lot of questions, ask what other people are carrying, what the problems have been. You will find that you'll start out with a bigger gun and you will gradually realize you would like something smaller. I mean, most people do. Okay? And if you're proficient, that smaller gun is fine. If you can shoot it well, it just doesn't really matter. A lot of people brag about carrying some big old gun. You'll see it on the internet forums, carrying a full-size 1911 cocked and locked. And they might do it. There are people that do that, probably never leave home without it. But there's also a lot of people that talk a good game, and that cocked and locked heavy 1911 is it's in the car or it's at home, and it's not with them. And what I always like to say is that person, for one thing, the proof is out there. As I was saying earlier, the 45 is not that big a difference, compared with a 40 or 9 with modern ammo. There's just not that much difference anymore, for one thing. But even for those people that think that 45 is some kind of magic bullet for them, and they've got to have that big 45, I'm probably better armed than they are with a 380. Because in a lot of cases, not every case, as I said, it's not everybody, but I think many of them, they are not as well armed as I am, even with that big 45. Because I guarantee you that I am armed more hours per day than they are. I'm rarely ever not armed. And my guess is if your main carry gun is a 45 full size, cocked and locked, there's probably a lot of times you're not carrying that. That's just my guess. Again, I know there are exceptions. But that guy that loves his 45 cocked and locked, I see him in his shorts and T-shirt at the post office or at the grocery store, and that shirt's tucked in, and even if it's not, I mean, where is that giant 45? Maybe he's got it, but anyway, you know my point. Again, there are exceptions, but having, as Jeff Cooper said, first rule of a gunfight is have a gun, even if it's a mouse gun, right? So here I am bad-mouthing people who carry a full-size I've got one of my favorite firearms right here handy. This Ed Brown I pulled out earlier. This beautiful thing with the big bullets in the magazine. Yeah, again, I know I'm schizophrenic. I love a 45. They're just wonderful, no doubt about it. And I'd like to believe, like everybody else, that it's the ultimate cartridge, and it's just so much better than a 9. I just, again, I'm convinced it's not. It's not that much better. It may not be any better, and if so, it's just very marginal. And then there's a lot of good arguments for capacity. It's funny, and here I'm getting all these controversial things going. I know back when the Glocks came out, there was of course, it was only available in the 9mm, the Glock 17, and it was the. I know I talk a lot about Glock. Well, back then there were other polymer guns. It wasn't the first, I realize, but it swept the world, of course, and that was all the talk. It would hold 17 rounds. That was amazing, and people were gobbling them up and everything. And then there, of course, was kind of a backlash. Yeah, you think you got that little pipsqueak 9mm, and the 9mm bullets were not as advanced at that time, so it wasn't as effective. And, as the military is seeing with Full Metal Jacket, the 9 is not a lot to write home about, right? But, or any bullet, if it's Full Metal Jacket, is not going to be as effective. But, they call them the Wonder Nine, and everybody thought, oh, you think you got everything because you got 17 rounds of 9 millimeter, and the backlash was the capacity and all that important. Just need to hit what you're aiming at, and 17 rounds, who needs it? If you can't hit it in 5, what are you doing with a gun? And there's some validity to some of those arguments, right? And I think the high capacity people, the argument, they got shamed so much that we sort of, and then there were, and then of course the crime bill, so-called crime bill, and so we found a lot of people had to go back to 10 rounds in their state, or you couldn't buy new magazines that were more than 10 rounds and all that sort of thing. And then there seemed to be more of an emphasis on bigger bullets and lower capacity. Lower capacity will do it. It'll get the job done. You don't need a Wonder Nine, that kind of thing. But in recent years, I think there's been a trend back in favor of capacity to some extent. If you read, and based on real events and real shootings, and I know the FBI stats, every shootout involves 2.5 rounds or something like that, and they're over in 2 seconds and 5 seconds, all that. But there are the exceptions, and I think which is why you carry a gun, for the exception to the rule. I think the threats now are a little bit different in terms of gangs. Yeah, maybe even terrorism. Who knows? And I think all those things, all those reasons that anybody even packs a firearm, you don't expect anything to ever happen. Whether it's 50 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, no one has expected anything. So the chances are really minimal that anything would ever happen. But even those possibilities, I say, those marginal possibilities have changed a little bit. Even though it's very unlikely, those things that have always been very unlikely, statistically, for you, for me, those potential events are a little different now. Does that make any sense? I'm not sure it makes any sense to me. These people sitting in a theater, somebody comes in all armored up, shoots them up, or whatever, into a school or into a mall where you are, or 3 or 4 people who've been radicalized come into the mall or whatever they do, which actually is easier and easier to envision happening, right? Unfortunately. If you read and you listen to people, some pretty expert folks, there's a lot of people that are putting a little bit more emphasis back on capacity as being something that would be nice to have. That coupled with, I guess, maybe more knowledge and experience of what actually happens sometimes with the adrenaline flowing. You lose those fine motor skills and things, and doesn't matter how well you can stand around and punch targets or plates. It's different when the balloon goes up, and that the capacity capacity is more comforting. I'm trying to say, it just is, and I'm leaning a little more in that direction myself. It's kind of a why not, kind of a why not. I don't expect ever to have to pull my pistol, but we don't expect ever to use our car insurance or our house insurance or our fire extinguishers or our spare tires or any of that kind of thing, do we? Yeah, as fate would have it, I had an accident yesterday in my new Ridgeline. We don't expect things to happen, but they do. So there's always that chance. And that's why, I'm not telling you anything, that's why some of us have a carry permit. That's why we carry a firearm. Yeah, better to have it not need it than to need it not have it. And it's just like a wallet to a lot of people. It's been a wallet to me since the 80s. So I don't think anything about it. Again, people who are a little afraid of firearms, to them it's it's like, wow, like you're, I don't know, it's just some dangerous thing you've got. How do you stand to have that in your belt, knowing it's a loaded gun? Yeah, when experienced shooters don't look at it that way, it's a loaded gun. It's just like when I get in that car, it's a loaded car, and much more likely to have problems there or get hurt, right? Luckily, mine was just a little fender bender going 1 mile per hour, but it's still an aggravation. You don't expect it to happen. You didn't see any. I didn't see anybody at all. I looked and didn't see them, and it's just, like they say, that car you didn't see is the one that always hits you. But anyway, most of us just would rather be prepared. Let other people think they're prepared, whether they are or not. Many of us just go ahead and get prepared, don't we? So I guess I ought to shut up. I probably have done more rambling down more different trails today than I have in a while. And of course, I was just in the mood to do it, and that's when I do these. Whether it's been 2 weeks or 2 months, I just kind of do it when I'm in the mood. And if I were not in the mood, I guess I wouldn't ramble much, would I? And I wouldn't even do it. So anyway, I think the Audacity seems to be working. I had the audacity to try it, and it appears to be recording all of my meaningless ramblings. So we'll probably see if we can process all these meaningless statements and discussions and send them out there to you at some point and let you go to sleep by it. How's that? If nothing else, I should provide you, what should I call it? Snooze enhancement. How's that? Snooze enhancement. Ooh, that sounds like a new drug commercial. Snooze enhancement. Oh, man, there's another topic I need to rant about one day. Maybe today. You got time for another rant? I am for the free market more than anybody you know, probably. I really am. Again, my bones they're libertarian in to the bone, really. And so if you got the money to put a commercial on TV or radio or wherever, more power to you. I don't like them any more than you do. I understand the show I'm watching would not be there if it weren't for that. Just like a lot of things that we do, we could not do if it weren't for our sponsors. I understand that. But the drug commercials, oh man. And I'm not getting ready to rant about the sexual enhancement commercial. Those are funny. I'm just glad I don't have a 10-year-old daughter, watching TV with me, but all that stupid stuff. But the ones that bother me the most now are just how prolific they are. No matter what you're watching, and maybe it's just the shows I watch. Maybe I think I'm the most gullible. I don't know. But I don't really watch that many shows on TV. I have my shows I do. I love Justified. I actually like Sons of Anarchy. It's not all that great a lot of times, but I watch that. What else do I watch? News, movies. There's something else I catch. What is it? I can't think. Like Fargo, the series Fargo that came out. If there's some, well, of course, Breaking Bad. If there's a quality show, I'll watch it. Okay. It's usually there's like one night a week or 2 nights a week where there's a show on that my wife and I will try to catch because we just like it. And there's others she likes I don't really like, but I'll watch a news or a movie if I want to watch something. But anyway, ample drug commercials. I don't have to tell you that, do I? What I find, if I talked about this, maybe I need some drugs to work on my senility here, but I don't think I have. Maybe I did. What gets me about the drug commercials, you know how advertising goes and how expensive it is. Yeah, I mean these people, if you're going to put an ad on TV, of course, making the commercial, that's a major production. You get the perfect people cast for the commercial that display and convey all the perfect emotions and the look you're going for. If you want normal, fat guy, whatever you want. And the music in the background, the setting, the tone, the script. I mean, the smartest people in marketing on the planet put those together with much care. I mean, they are masterpieces. I mean, really, in terms of effectiveness and psychology. And I mean, they bring all that ammunition to bear, everything they know about the psychology and what affects people and what doesn't, what has worked in the past, what hasn't. You do realize that, of course. If someone young is out there listening, maybe this is kind of news to you, that commercials really are very effective because the most brilliant minds in that business, they use everything they can come up with psychologically and otherwise to affect us. You know, that's just a fact. Okay, so they put a lot of money, a lot of time, you know, sharp people putting these things together, and then it's on top of that, so it's expensive to make one. And then it's very expensive to buy the time to air it, right? What's it? You know, they charge by the second or something for a little, 10-second commercial, depending on the show, thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions, depending on what the show is. Okay? So it's big business. That's why a lot of commercials you see, they're really wham bam to the point, aren't they? And they don't last long. They get their point across and bang, that's it. All right. And then there's another commercial just like it. Well, these drug commercials, have you noticed? And of course, the other thing about the commercials is they go for their demographic. That's another big, I didn't even mention that. They're targeted to whatever their demographic is, and of course where they buy the time and what shows determines that. They know who's watching, and it's based on all that, which people are watching because they want to get the biggest bang for their buck. Okay, so that's why if you've ever been watching something and all these stupid commercials, they're advertising stuff that would appeal to teenage girls or something. You think, well, what am I watching? What channel is this thing on? Yeah. I mean, you can tell by the commercials sometimes, can't you? How stupid. Of course, most commercials are kind of stupid, but in a sense. So anyway, the demographic, they're targeted. Just like you or I would. If I'm going to put in millions into a commercial, I want to get to the right people. Okay, I'm getting to my point. Hang on, stay there with me. Well, what amazes me about these drug commercials, and I know you know which ones I'm talking about, they go on for, 60 seconds or 2 minutes, it seems like. I think some of them are maybe 2 minutes long. But even 60 seconds is like a lifetime for a commercial. And they've got, these people, they pick out these normal-looking little, dumpy people walking around in slow motion and looking stupid, grilling out or whatever they're doing. And of course they're going over what the drug is, and if you think you have these symptoms, maybe you should talk to your doctor about this, Alvaro, whatever this drug is. And then they launch into about 50 seconds worth of side effects, don't they? So they're kind of annoying and funny for those reasons, just the characters they choose and the setting and the slow-mo walking and the side effects, or the negative side effects. That's really hilarious. That goes on for a long time, and almost every drug you see advertised causes, suicide, depression. Everything you can imagine. And but all that's funny. But the weirdest thing about them, and the point I'm eventually getting to, is their demographic, the targeting of commercials. It's just one after another, and it's some drug that treats diabetic nerve pain. Okay? Well, even the ED commercials, the sexual problems commercial, whatever. How many people in the audience are in the market for diabetic nerve pain medicine? Okay? So you are putting a commercial on this TV show, goes on for, my gosh, forever. It seems like 5 minutes. I guess it's just 1 minute or 2 minutes, but it's forever, and it's so stupid, and it's about diabetic nerve pain. What percentage of people in your audience are suffering from diabetic nerve pain? 0.1%? You are spending millions of dollars on this, you're producing this commercial, and then buying that gigantic block of time for something that, now I know some people do, but how many? It's one thing to be advertising Barbie dolls on Saturday morning cartoons when maybe half of your audience is your demographic for those, right? Or if you're watching the Sportsman's Channel or some hunting channel and they're advertising mossy oak camouflage clothing or a firearm or something, when at least half of your audience is your demographic for that, your target market. Oh man, what are some others? Y'all can name them. Speak up. Let's see, diabetic nerve pain. What are some of those? That's the funniest thing about them to me. I point out to my wife. Do you find this strange? There's 5 or 6 ailments that they continually hammer, and of course I can't remember them. Maybe I need them to advertise something from memory, and then be taking it. But it's in every case almost. It's some ailment that. Maybe it's or some kind of rheumatoid arthritis. They saw one of those the other day. It's the same thing. Long commercial. How many people have rheumatoid arthritis? What's another one? I don't know. You see them. But there's this minuscule percentage of people that generally that would have whatever they're selling. And it's what gets me is that incredible incongruency, that incredible imbalance of the ratio between the potential target market there and then what they're selling. That's what I don't understand. People, they spend probably millions of dollars on market research so that they're advertising their product to the right people, in a TV show or wherever it is, where those are the people that would be interested. But, oh man, these long commercials over stuff it's just so, well, if someone is ailing from it, it's not stupid. But you could probably go, if you live in a development and there are, 200 families living where you live in your development, go running around, see how many people in that 200 families have diabetic nerve pain. That's kind of my point. There may be 1 or 2. It's just the millions of dollars spent. And it's not just one commercial. You could be watching a movie, especially if it's on something like TNT or one of those channels that just runs 1 million commercials. And you might see that same commercial 5 or 6 times. So, how many millions of dollars have gone into that? Anyway, I know it sounds like I'm senile and that I need some of those drugs. It's just weird. Knowing what I know about marketing is what makes it so strange. That enormous amount of energy and time and money would go into something that, okay, you look around the room, who are they selling this to? Oh, man. Of course, I know the answer. Yeah. Really. So why did I rant? Well, basically the answer is they have so much money they can afford to do it, right? The drug business is good business. Even legal drugs is a good business, and they can afford to do it. And part of the reason, too, is how long ago has that been? 15, 20 years ago, the pharmaceutical companies started getting worse access to doctors. The hospitals clamped down, and I'm not sure what all the reasons were, but it got to be more and more difficult for drug reps, the pharmaceutical reps, to just walk in and talk to the doctors like they had been doing forever. And they probably still do some, but so when that tightened up, that was our loss, because then the drug companies started coming to the doctors through us. They're trying to get us through where those drugs are just in our heads, and then we go to our doctor and we've got some ailment. We bring up that drug name. Doctor, you think I need this, whatever it is? You think this could be diabetic nerve? Those commercials, in a way, they're trying to convince us that we have this stuff and that we need this drug, and to get right down to it, right? But it's crazy. Anyway, whenever I see one, I'm reminded of that. And I apologize for the rant on something you probably have not even noticed. But it's just one of those things that gets to me. One of those little pet peeves, which is another reason why most of the time, if it's Justified or it's Longmire or it's Sons of Anarchy or if it's something like that that I really want to watch, I will record it and watch it the next day, and that affords you the luxury of speeding through those obnoxious drug commercials. Okay, I feel better now. I got the rant out, and I will shut up. Okay. Again, we appreciate you guys listening and watching and supporting what we do. We try to do it the right way, and we do it our way, but we try to do it the right way. And we enjoy it. Still having fun doing it. And even though it's going to be cold this winter, hopefully we got enough videos stocked up. I don't have to get out there when it's 15 degrees, but well, I wouldn't have to, but I just like to make videos. And but we appreciate your patience with us and just everything, tuning in and understanding what we're doing with the limited amount of sponsorship we're accepting. And I hope you appreciate, and I know you do if you're listening to this, I hope you appreciate how it's not affecting what we do. Nothing will affect our videos, what we do, other than just a few seconds to acknowledge people that are helping us. Okay? So, anyway, shoot straight. Hope you get a chance to fondle a nice firearm and have fun with it. Get to the range. If nothing else, one of these cold evenings, just get one of your favorite firearms out. Make sure she's clear, and clean the thing again. You can never over clean one. Maybe just take it apart. Maybe take one apart you've never taken apart. Maybe disassemble one a little further than you've ever disassembled it. Now, don't send it to me if you don't know how to get it back together. Don't blame me. But I have a few firearms I have disassembled. I've disassembled all of them, but there's probably a couple I've not taken apart as far as I could. Probably should take my own advice. It really does enrich your understanding and appreciation for whatever the firearm is and how it operates. And it also helps you ensure that it's really clean in there and lubed in the right places. And firearms are just fascinating the way they operate. I think that's one of the things that appeals to a lot of us, just the machinery of it and how they work. And when you get into the guts of it, you can see that. So it's just fascinating how they were designed. So many of them by Mr. John Browning, right? But anyway, we appreciate you all watching, listening, and check out John's. It's not really John's channel. It's our alternative channel. I just haven't gotten over there yet. I will. But the Hickok 45 and Son channel there, links are there to it on the main page and everything. And John's, he's enjoying that and I think doing well. As I said before, he has surprised me with his gift of gab. I didn't realize he had, and he's developing and enjoying that. And he talks about some interesting stuff. As I've said, he's really an out-of-the-box thinker, and who happens to be a gun nut, And so, kind of a weird combination, I guess. But he's doing some good stuff over there, and I'll be over there trying to mess it up some. So, anyway, we appreciate you all, and thanks for listening. And I hope your ears don't hurt from so much listening. Y'all take care, because life is good.
You've been listening to the Hickok 45 Radio Show. See you on the range.